Good evening, lovers. So beautiful to be with you on day one of LoveFest. And it really is my honor to show up tonight and be of service. And I'm really feeling that right now. I've just spent a few minutes, quite a few minutes actually, just sat here with my cup of tea and with my hand on my heart and just tapping into myself, my true self, and connecting in with my guides and angels. I can feel the emotion coming. And passed on loved ones. And I mean, whenever I go live for events like this, where a lot of time and energy has gone into the preparation of it, and where I'm super, super intentional about being of really, really high service to my community, I take the time before I go live just to tap in and feel my feelings and set my intention for the call and feel the energy that's looking to be transmitted tonight. And I just had a very, very beautiful experience of receiving the words, just serve, just be of service. And I'm so glad for those of you who are joining me this evening. We won't have a big number here tonight live, and that's okay. For so many of you, it won't feel like something you want to do today is get online. It's been a big day for so many people today. It has for me too. I don't who else actually watched the and please use the comments. Say hi as you're joining. If you're on replay, type hashtag replay. Who here that's live or on replay, who watched the funeral service today? Did you watch it? Were you able to go in person? Was anybody here able to be there in person? I can't imagine being able to come on a call live after traveling into London and having that experience in person. I wouldn't have the energy for that. I sat and watched it for 2 hours on the TV today. I actually took myself off to bed for a nap this afternoon as well, because I needed it. And I just needed to be and rest today. And I think that's a real thing for a lot of us. So who just use the comments, please. Did any of you watch the funeral today? And how was that experience for you? I couldn't help but cry when they played God Save the Queen. And I'm pretty sure the second verse said, God Save the King. Did I hear that right? I wasn't quite sure what I was hearing, and I haven't read up about it. A lot of people were watching that today. A lot. So no one's commenting saying they've watched it. Oh, Vieira did. Let me just say hi to who's here. Susie, hi, my darling. Great to have you. Pamela, hi, darling. Good to have you too. Karen, hi, honey. Nice to see you. Well, feel you. And hello, welcome. Yeah, Vieira watched it today. It was emotional. It was beautiful, wasn't it? Yeah. Hey, darling. Good to have you. So just to reiterate, energetically, it's a big day. Big day for so many. And not for everyone, right? Which is why I chose to show up today. That's why I went ahead, business as usual. But really, I'm here to be of service. And I enjoy being of service, and I feel able to. So hence I'm here. But if I know there's a bunch of women who will be watching tonight's show on replay, and that's okay. Thank God for recordings, right? Elizabeth, hello, is Australian living in Vienna. So I feel connected, but I couldn't watch it. No problemo. So Aussie living in Vienna. How fab. I'm Aussie, right? Did you know I'm Aussie? I'm from Sydney, and I have lived in the UK permanently for 22 years. And then I lived here previous to that, and I traveled a lot, and I've lived in other countries. So I've been out of Australia a long time. Gina, hi, good to have you. Sally's here too. Hi, darling. Good to have you. Great. Yes, of course I do. Love your content. That's great. You know I'm an Aussie. Yay. Okie dokie, my darling. So so I spent the day, I had a little bit of work this morning. I watched the funeral. I just thought it showed London so beautifully, by the way, just so beautifully. I think they did a beautiful job. It was so impressive, very moving. And then I actually sat down, and I want to know who else did this today. I sat down with today's playbook. I printed it off, and look, I completed it. Look, notes. I actually did my own playbook today. And I'm showing you that because I just want to reiterate that I am always the student. I'm always evolving and growing and committed so consciously to my own evolution. I loved doing this today because as I was doing it, I'm like, oh, these are really great questions. And I was like, yeah, I remember the flow of it. There's a reason why I ordered it the way I ordered it. You know, you had to answer questions about your mind first, and then it was about your emotions. And that made sense. The flow of that was so perfect because it helped take me through a process, tapping into what's going on in here and then bringing me down. What am I feeling in here? Because we feel our thinking, right? Then it goes into the body. It's like, okay, so I'm down here and I'm feeling into my body, what's going on there. And then I'm able to connect to my spiritual self. So the way I designed the playbook was super intentional, which I'd forgotten. And it was so beautiful to go through the process. And actually, I wrote quite a long vow because I discovered something about myself today, which I didn't know was going on. And I had a big light bulb moment. And I won't go into all the details of it because while I do share myself very transparently, my clients will let you know. I'm super transparent. I'm going to share some of my story tonight. I will be uber transparent and honest. I can only share, though, when I've fully received and digested and integrated it for myself, right? So I'm still in that because of what came up for me today. And I shared it straight away with James, my husband, which was just so, we were both like, wow, that's really cool to realize this. But what I will share, which really grabbed me, I found was really interesting, was when I got to the section on emotions. Who here's done today's playbook, by the way? Could you comment and let me know if you've actually completed today's playbook? And if you haven't, that's okay. I highly recommend you do, though. I mean, I probably spent maybe an hour on this, and that was a game-changing hour. I really, really highly recommend that you dive into this. Like I was saying on the live last night, it doesn't matter how much personal growth work you've done. It does not matter. This line of questioning will help you tap into your next level. Like, what's the next piece looking for your attention? It's very exciting. Hi, Sarah's here. Hi, you have done it. Great. That's amazing. And completed. Great. Big tick. Lorraine's here. Hello, honey. Great to have you. Yeah. So if you haven't done it, please do. But what I noticed in the emotions section, there was the question, what do you do to avoid having to feel your feelings? And I wrote positive thinking. And I've never tapped into that before. I've tapped into, what do I do to not have to feel my feelings? Binge on Netflix, drink wine, work, all sorts of different things I can do to avoid having to feel my feelings. I wonder what your avoidance strategies are. And perhaps we'll touch on that a little bit today as well in the masterclass. Oh, great, Lorraine, you did your playbook. Awesome. And positive thinking. Now, there's nothing wrong with positive thinking, except when it's used as an avoidance tactic. And I realized I have the ability to just tap back into get aligned, get on with it. I can do that. I do allow myself to feel my feelings. I do honor my feelings. And I discovered some belief systems that I hadn't been fully paying attention to. They weren't properly consciously front of mind, and they were having me feel certain feelings. And I just found out this about myself today. I was covering up having to feel those feelings. I was even covering up having to really bring into full conscious awareness the limiting beliefs that were going on for me by using the tactic of positive thinking. Who knew? So it's interesting that something that seems so positive and helpful has actually been blocking me to fully experiencing and knowing myself. And that's had some physical ramifications for me as well. So, and I'll get into this in the masterclass tonight, but when we're not acknowledging how we're feeling, when we're not acknowledging the sabotaging limiting beliefs that we've got going on, all of that is essentially, without judgment, it's a toxic energy. And if we don't acknowledge and release that energy from our body, that toxicity stays in our body and makes us unwell. We don't want to feel unwell, right? And anyway, today has been beautifully eye-opening for me. And after I worked through the playbook, I took myself off to bed for an afternoon nap with a hot water bottle. And I woke up feeling amazing. So yeah, I feel very proud of myself to have actually done the work alongside you guys today, because I'm in it, like I said, with you. And who of you who has managed to go through today's playbook, who of you also did the self-love practice at the end? That's something that I really highly recommend you adopt as a daily practice, right? So asking yourself 3 things that you're proud of yourself for, 3 things you value about yourself, 3 things you're grateful for. It sounds so basic. And for those of you that have done a ton of personal growth work, it might feel a bit like yawn. It doesn't make it any less powerful. If you've done this every day for the last 20 years, doing it again tomorrow doesn't make it any less powerful. This is important stuff. And in fact, it was interesting when I had to write 3 things I felt proud of myself for. I didn't allow myself just to rattle off 3 things, because I can just rattle off stuff. I really forced myself to sit and feel, what are you really proud of yourself for? And I dug a little deeper, and I didn't find it that easy. And I noticed that I had some judgment and perfectionism that was actually really at play. I could have played lip service to the question and just rattled stuff off, like, I'm good. The whole positive thinking thing. No, today I went a little bit deeper and I really tapped into it. And I was finding it a little bit hard to feel proud of myself. It's good awareness, honest awareness. This is the kind of thing that deepens our relationship with ourselves. Like, what's the point of, like, I feel like, sorry, I'm wiping my face. I think I've got cat hair. What's the point of anything if we don't have a really deeply honest, authentic relationship with ourselves? What is the point? Why go through life kidding yourself? Why go through life pretending to yourself? Like, for me, that's the ultimate disrespect. And for me to even discover today that I was using positive thinking to block me from having a deeply honest, authentic relationship with myself at the moment, I was like, wow. And who else did the guided visualization today? I actually didn't do that. It's a really good one, True Self. So you've got access to that guided meditation. And there's a Spotify playlist as well. Did any of you play the music while you were working through the playbook? I'd love to know. If you could let me know. Even if you're on replay, just let me know. That would be awesome. So yeah, interesting stuff. Did you all see on the live last night also that I am running an Instagram competition? And I sent an email out about it today. If you want to participate in the Instagram competition, if that would be fun for you, if you want to share your LoveFest journey, I actually shared a little bit of my LoveFest journey in my Instagram stories today. Of course, if I'm going to sit on the couch with a blanket, the cat's always going to come join me. So I was there doing my playbook work, and Luna, the cat, came and sat plonked right on top of it. So I took a picture of her with my worksheet to show that this is part of my LoveFest journey. And I popped that in my stories today. You could do the same if you wanted to. I am also creating little memes every day of LoveFest to reflect back the energy of the previous evening's live. So if you saw on my Instagram today, and my Instagram is Katie Phillips with Love, you'll see there's a post called, what did I call it? LoveFest light bulbs. So if you have a light bulb moment during this live tonight, and there were some last night, and there were some affirmations shared last night, and there was some intentions shared last night, I went through all the comments and I pulled out certain intentions and affirmations and sentences that felt powerful, and I turned them into beautiful memes. I've shared those in my stories. They're on my post on Instagram. I've shared them in my stories, but they're there for you to inspire you and use in your own personal development journey. And if you would like to share them in your own posts and your own stories on Instagram, you're so welcome to. And then if you tag Katie Phillips with Love, you'll get a little automated message from my little Instagram bot, and it will ask you, are you participating in Katie's Instagram competition? You just tick yes, and it'll give you a point. And every time you share anything that you tag me in related to your LoveFest journey, anything that works for you, you could screenshot this, you could take pictures of you doing your playbook, you could create a post with any picture that you like that tells a story about your own journey, your own relationship with you, depending on your audience and your community and your friendships, what feels good and yummy to share, please share it. And if you tag me, you'll get a point. And those points will all add up, and you'll see a tally as you go through. And at the end, on Wednesday night of LoveFest, I will take a look to see who the winner is. And the winner of that competition will receive a one-to-one private coaching call with me, valued at £450. Pretty cool, right? So if that's for you, please to be sharing. And let me have a look. Comments. Anne is saying, I did the meditation and saw a purple color, and afterwards a wasp hovered 2 inches from my nose. I'm glad that wasp didn't land on your nose. I got bitten by you don't get bitten, do you? I got stung by a wasp, but it's still healing from like my holiday in Greece. We're talking 4 or 5 weeks ago now. So a purple color, how lovely. That's great, Anne. I'm so glad you enjoyed that. Oh, Sally's here. Hello, lovely to have you, darling. All righty. So how's about we dive into today's masterclass? Are we up for it? Yeah? Okay. Give me 1 second to set this up. We're going to remove that. We're going to remove that. We're going to, ta-da, add this. All right, let me take a little sip. So feel free to use the comments as I'm going through. Don't forget, if I say something that you want to be remembered, write it in the comment. If there's an affirmation that comes up for you that you want to remember, write it in the comment. If there's an intention you're setting, write it in the comment. I will go through all the comments tomorrow morning, and we will turn them into some beautiful memes. So you could just use those privately. You can screenshot them and use them as a screensaver on your phone, or you can share them in the Instagram competition. So just use the comments for that. Today's masterclass is on knowing yourself. It's entitled What You Don't Own Owns You. And this is a topic I am so freaking passionate about. So passionate about. Before we dive in, let's just get some clarity on what your intention is. So for those of you, you gold star students that have worked through your playbook today, you would have answered the question, which was, what do you want to receive, learn, or experience from LoveFest? Would you like to share that here? Now, a few of you shared your intentions last night. I would love for you to share them again in the comments here. What is your intention for LoveFest? What do you specifically want to heal in your life? What are you fed up with? What simply has to change? Do you have a specific goal you want to achieve? When I was working through the playbook today, I wrote my intention and I wrote what I specifically wanted to heal and what I was fed up with and what simply had to change. And I actually was writing it thinking, I don't know how this playbook is going to help me get to those answers. Little did I know. Oh, ye of little faith, trusting my own body of work. While I haven't got the full, actually, I think the vow I ended up setting for myself will be, yes, in fact, it will. The vow I set myself, which is certain changes to my day-to-day, certain things I'm going to start bringing into my routine, et cetera, et cetera. I might touch on this a little bit later on the call. It will be the route to healing what absolutely is ready to change. So that's very exciting. Very exciting. Oh, Karen says she's done most of the playbook. Good girl. Love it. Gold stars to you. Sally's saying, my intention is to slow down, come to authenticity, show up in a more relaxed, settled way, to tap into and explore my feelings and leave my head. Find my spirituality, learn to listen more, learn to feel my emotions, find my desires, unscramble my brain, unlock my emotions, face up to them, open them up. Bloody hell, Sally. That is an intention. That is gorgeous. I see you. I hear you. I fully witness you right now, darling. That is really powerful. I'm so glad to have you in my world. I really, really am. Sally and I have already done some work together, and you are such a soulful woman. It's beautiful. Vieira's intention is, I have to change my relationship with my own value and self-worth. Beautiful. Yes. Do you know how you want to change your relationship? I wonder if you could add that to the intention, make it even more punchy. How do you want to change your relationship? If you feel like sharing that, please do. Anne, hello. To be honest, to be as honest as possible with myself, not be afraid to speak out. Beautiful. And if you weren't afraid to speak out, what would you be instead? What would be like the affirmative kind of intentional statement there? I would feel confident to speak out. I would love speaking out. What would that be for you? Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, Jane's here. Hello, honey. Good to have you. Thanks for coming. Yeah, great. If anybody else would like to share their intentions, please do. Please do. Just to say, like, intentions are everything. It's so, so, so important to start from that place. It's like starting from the place of desire. Like, your intention might feel impossible. Your brain might want to jump to the how and stop you right there. You don't need to know the how you're going to bring your intention into reality. You don't need to know the step-by-step process. The law of increment says that we have to follow. It's an incremental journey. We have to do that step, and then we can do that step, then we can do that step, then we can do that step. But we don't get to the goal before we've taken all the steps before. And the very first step is intention. It's tapping into desire. Everything starts there. So just to share, I hadn't actually decided to share this publicly yet, And I don't know why I'm not sharing it publicly yet, but I'll just say that my family are moving internationally next year, 100% for certain. We are relocating overseas. And I don't know why I'm not sharing fully where we're going to yet. That's part of my own journey. I obviously am still receiving this information for myself and getting comfortable with it. Hand on heart, I'm nervous about it, excited and nervous. All you need to know for now is we're moving internationally. It is a big international relocation and an exciting one. And on the weekend, I found myself chatting with James. We're on a beautiful walk. We're walking the dog. And I opened up about all of my fears. And I'm like, what if I don't find my people there? What if this? What if that? What if I don't like where we live? Like, and everything I was scared about. Got it out, had a bit of a cry, really opened up. And then once I kind of got it all off my chest, I then said, okay, hold on. I'm going straight into fearful stories. I'm going straight into the how and needing to know every step. But I haven't begun with desire. I haven't set intention. And we both agree. We're like, oh my God, that's so exciting. Why don't we? Because we're already getting into like, we're having new passports created for this trip, very specific ones. It's all quite interesting. We're looking at how to relocate the pets. We're looking at container sizes for, what furniture are we going to take, what will fit into the container. Like, we're going into all the nitty gritty detail of the how. We're looking at properties already online before doing a recce trip. We're like in the how. And we missed the step of intention and desire. So I've gone into fear. I'm in a tailspin. I'm worrying. I'm waking up in the middle of the night like, oh, shit. Like, let's just bring it back. How do I want to feel on this trip? What do I want to create for myself, for us as a family? What kind of home do I desire to live in? Not looking to see what's available. Start with, what do I desire? I don't need to know whether that exists or not yet. I know enough to know that when I start with desire, it shows up. We have to start with desire. So me asking you, and already the whole trip is suddenly feeling a lot easier. It's still very new information, and it's a really massive life change for us, which is why I'm not comfortable talking about it completely yet. But we're pulling ourselves back into, okay, let's do a vision board about this. Let's get intentional about this trip. Let's not get swept away with what has to get done. That'll all come. And suddenly I feel more expansive and excited. Me asking you your intention for LoveFest isn't just a throwaway question. There's power in you knowing yourself enough to know what has to shift. So let me take a look at your comments. Vieira is saying, not be willing to settle for less than I deserve and stop being afraid to go for what I want and need. Amen. Yes. Love it. Jane, my intention is to trust in myself and create safe boundaries. I want to feel safe and grounded in myself. Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to feel safe and grounded in myself. Yes, darling. I witness you in that. I witness all of you sharing this. Lorraine, find my authentic self, be more content, joyful, and happy in my own skin. I want to heal from self-doubt and self-loathing and negative self-talk. I want to be much more positive, grateful, with a heart full of self-love and self-compassion. Oh my God, that actually brings tears to my eyes. Lorraine, that is stunning. That's so stunning. Wow. I really feel the emotion in that. Oh, yeah, that's great. Really great. Pamela, I want to step out of my comfort zone with ease and stay in receiving mode and the now moment when I feel uncertain. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yeah, my favorite tool for doing that is just to put my hands on my heart and just to say out loud, I'm safe. I am safe. Everything's okay. I'm safe. Karen, my intention is to build on my self-confidence, learn to trust again, step into my power and be proud of myself, and continue to love myself and celebrate my achievements and be the best I can be. Darling, that is powerful. Ugh. I'm really feeling these tonight, ladies. Really deeply feeling these. I love your courage. Thank you for so courageously sharing yourselves like this. Stunning. Hi, Helen. I want to feel safe in my body when I feel vulnerable and still feel safe in myself when uncomfortable. Yes, that's gorgeous. Again, I'm safe. I'm safe. Beautiful, Helen. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Okie dokie. If you still want to share your intentions, please do. And if you're on replay, it's fine. Just hashtag replay and share, and I will catch up. What we don't own owns us. Okay, so I think at this point, I'm going to, let me just take off the screen there. And let me just a moment. Let's do that. Have you noticed what I'm like? I like my, where's my other little thing? LoveFest. Oh, there we go. We'll have that one, shall we? I love my branding. I love it. It's pretty, and I'm a perfectionist. And let me see, does that work? Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Oh. It's just how my little perfectionist brain works. I used to work in advertising and PR many, many, many moons ago, and I like things to be just so. Let me tell you a little bit of a story, and then we're going to dive into a masterclass essentially on self-love and how to live transformationally. Now, most of the stories that I share, and by the way, some of you will have heard this story I'm going to share now, but I know I always tell stories differently, and whatever's going to come through will come through. So if you've heard it before, stay tuned. You might hear it differently this time. And I share because I think to share of myself is to demonstrate we are all the same. And while my life experiences might be different to yours, there'll be something within what I share now that will be a nugget for you, that little light bulb for you that will be like, now I get something about me and my story even deeper, like you and your story. We need to know and understand ourselves. And I hope that what I share, and I'm sharing it very intentionally, and so that you can have change, so that you can get transformation. And I want to say most of the day today, I was thinking, I don't really want to talk about my story tonight. I don't want to make it about me, because today has been a day of celebration and mourning of a significant character in our world. I did not want to take the spotlight off her and put it onto me. And I got the very clear message right before coming live tonight that I'm here to serve and be of service. And so I'm going to do that. So usually when I tell stories, and those of you that have done my 5-day challenge before, you've heard tons of stories that I've shared where I very vulnerably share the really, really tough stuff, the ugly stuff, the really painful stuff that I've experienced in my life. We've all experienced painful, ugly, tough stuff. I share that to model what transformation and change is possible, what healing is possible. What I tend not to share so much of is the positive conditioning and programming I receive from my parents. I share a lot of the difficult conditioning and programming I've received because that's where my healing has been. I've had to do a lot of healing work based on what was modeled to me as a little girl and as I grew up, from my parents, from my family, from society, and so on. But I felt like I wanted to start tonight by sharing some beautiful conditioning and programming that I received from my parents. And then, bear with me, I'm going to take you on a little journey. So To go right back to the beginning, when I was a very little girl, and I wonder if you can relate, I was very, very worried and anxious. I was a very worried, anxious little girl. I used to get up in the middle of the night and go to see my mum and say, "Mum, I'm worried." And she'd say, "Darling, what are you worried about?" And I'd say, "I don't know, but I'm worried, and I worry about worrying." And she, what are you worrying about worrying? I was like, "Well, I would worry about worrying about worrying about worrying." Like, I just worried. I was so worried. Like a little 4, 5-year-old little girl, I couldn't get to sleep because I worried so much. And I didn't know why. And it's only with retrospect now and the understanding that as a very little girl, all children, all little children, we are feeling creatures. We feel everything. We intuit everything. We have this knowing that's actually coming from our spirit, our soul. We feel and intuit. We don't understand, particularly before the age of 7. Something in me just knew something wasn't quite right. I would never have been able to verbalize it. It just didn't feel right to me. And I can understand now with perspective, and I'm now a 48-year-old woman with a lot of healing and under my belt. I can see that I felt unsafe in the world. And my greatest fear, which I felt but couldn't think or understand, was that I was going to lose my parents. And that's the greatest human fear, is to be abandoned and left alone. I mean, we are social creatures. We need each other to survive. And for a small child absolutely needs his or her parents or caregivers to keep you alive, right? So I was a very worried child. And it didn't really make sense because when you looked at my family dynamics and the way my parents parented me, it was kind of picture perfect. I grew up in Sydney, the northern beaches of Sydney, very beautiful. It's now millionaire's paradise where I used to live. It was very working class when I was there. We were at the beach every weekend. It was walking distance from the house. I mean, it was pretty lovely. I went to a lovely school. It was a very safe environment. It was a very privileged upbringing, quite frankly, to live in that part of the world. Although we lived very simply, we didn't have a lot of money. We lived in a very beautiful, very safe part of the world. And my parents adored me and my sister. We were very, very loved. And I remember when I was in year 6, so I must have been about 11. I remember my parents being called into the school. They had to have a private meeting with the teacher, and we didn't know why. I didn't know why. They didn't know why. They were called in. I immediately, being the worried, anxious little girl that I was, immediately thought the worst. I was like, "Oh my God, I've done something wrong. I'm in trouble." And I'll never forget sitting on this cold concrete step outside the classroom. My parents went in to see my teacher, and I was petrified. I was so nervous at what on earth they were talking about in there. And when they came out, so my dad is like 6'2", big guy, big hands. And I will never, ever forget them coming out and both looking at me with so much compassion and love. I immediately felt like safe and, I could relax, like I wasn't in trouble. But my dad took my hand. By the way, it turned out I wasn't very good at maths and I needed a bit of extra support. And that's what they wanted to talk to my parents about. No big deal. I remember my dad with his massive hand, taking my little hand and holding it really tight. And he looked at me in the eyes and he said, "You are, I can do anything, Katie. You are, I can do anything, Katie." And the gravitas with which he said that, the emotion with which he said that, like I heard him and it was gospel truth. And that was like one level of the conditioning and programming that I took on and owned and made meaning from, and I've kept with me all these years. Whenever I go into self-doubt, whenever I worry that I can't do something, whenever I like step up in my life, like with our international move, I will be reminding myself, I can do anything, Katie. I can do that because dad told me so when I was a little girl. Isn't that beautiful? Like what an amazing affirmation. What an amazing belief system to instill into your child. I remember we moved house. We were living in a little apartment at that time. And about a year later, we moved to a house. We had an actual house and we got the cats. We had pets. I had my own bedroom. I didn't have to share with my little sister anymore. And we had a gorgeous garden. Not small, but it was beautiful. So I'd gone from all the beginning of my life living in this little tiny flat, sharing a tiny bedroom with my sister, to a house with my own room. And we had a sunroom. And sunroom, I don't know what you call them. You call them conservatories in England, right? Conservatories. So I would sit in the sunroom most days and play with the cats. And in the sunroom, we had a desk that my dad would use for his work. And on the wall, he had a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. And it was the Dare Mighty Things quote. And it's actually the quote that had me go on to, look, here's my book, The Self-Love Affair, A Woman's Guide to a Daring and Mighty Life. My first business was called Daring and Mighty. My first Instagram account was Daring and Mighty. It's no longer called that. This quote had a profound impact on me. And I'm going to quote it to you now. Oh, I've actually got it on the wall over there, so I don't have to rely on my memory. Hold on. Although I can do it from memory. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs. I'm not going to remember now that I've seen it on the wall. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those timid spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the grey twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. I didn't understand what an affirmation was back then. I know now. And I can see with retrospect that Theodore Roosevelt quote that I would read most days on my dad's office wall in that sunroom became a code of living for me. I was going to go out in the world and dare mighty things. I did not for 1 second doubt it. I was going to go and suck the marrow out of life. What amazing conditioning and programming to send me off and out into the world with, right? I know it's helped me enormously. I'll never forget another situation when my mum sat me on the bed one day and she said to me, Katie, it's really important that you have a healthy relationship with your body. She said to me, I want you to not be afraid of your body, to love your body, to look at your body. She really encouraged me to look at all of it. Look at yourself, understand yourself, see how it all fits together. Touch yourself. It's your body. You can do whatever you want with your body. It's yours. It's your responsibility. You love it. You respect it. What amazing messaging to a young girl. I'm so grateful to my mum. I've always had really powerful body confidence because she said that to me. My mum and dad were always, I was I was a worried child. I was super high functioning A-star student at school. I was always worrying about exams and doing my best and getting great grades. I wanted to get good grades, and I did. I had to work hard to get them. But whenever I worried, my mum and dad would regularly say to me, stop worrying and be kind to yourself. Stop worrying and be kind to yourself. That was the messaging. And if you're a client of mine, or if you're in my Love Lounge membership, you'll know I am regularly inviting you to be kind to yourself. It's just natural to me. Of course, I went on to become a self-love coach. Of course, I went on to help women have deeper, more authentic, aligned relationships with themselves when my conditioning was be kind to yourself. The irony was, as an adult, I didn't always live into that messaging. We might get to that later. Um, Same with school. If I was nervous that I wasn't going to have homework done on time, my dad would say, "Is anybody going to die?" I'm like, No one's going to die if I don't hand that homework in." He'd be like, "Yeah, push back the deadline." He taught me you can always push back a deadline. And you pretty much can, actually, pretty much can. And my mum taught me to do unto others. She went from the Bible quote, "Do unto others." Sadly, my mum didn't teach me, and she didn't model it or have the experience for herself to do unto herself and the importance of that. But it was modeled to me to treat others as you like to be treated yourself, with deep kindness and respect. Treat others as you'd like to be treated yourself. This is really beautiful conditioning and programming, don't you think? So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. But it does beg the question as to why, when I turned 17, everything came crumbling down for me. With all of that conditioning, that beautiful programming, there's so much love from both of my parents. Why, at the age of 17, did everything begin to change? I remember it was my last year in high school, and like I said, I was an A-star student, so I worked really, really, really freaking hard for my exams, and I got great results because I worked hard. And I was super well prepared, and I had to do a presentation in my English class. Can't remember what it was on, but I had to stand up in front of the class and speak. And I was okay at speaking. I used to do Toastmasters courses as a kid, so I was well practiced at public speaking. I used to participate in Japanese speech contests, would you believe? I used to win them sometimes too, because I did Japanese at school, and it was my passion. I loved it. And I got up in front of my class on this day, and I was prepared and organized, and I stood there, and I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. And I was like, have you ever had that dream? It's a freaking nightmare of a dream when you stand and you open your mouth and nothing comes out. I've had that actual physical experience. And I remember just looking at my classmates with their expectation of, yeah, and I couldn't get any words out. And I was allowed to leave the classroom, and I went to the bathroom, and I cried and cried and cried, and I didn't know why. And that was my first ever experience of this line that I'm speaking to in the masterclass today, which I'm going to get to in a minute. What we don't own owns us. That day, what I hadn't owned that affected me physically and then had me come undone. And then there was a cascade of physical repercussions, which I'll tell you about in a minute. What I hadn't acknowledged or paid any attention to was the fact that my mum had been diagnosed clinically depressed. Actually, just a few months later that year, she attempted suicide. That's where she was at. So you might be able to begin to imagine perhaps what it was like at home. Bless her heart. 5 years later, she committed suicide successfully. Gives you a bit of an idea of what was going on. So mum was clinically depressed. Dad had been in and out of hospital with health problems related to alcoholism. That gives you another bit of an idea of what might have been going on at home. And they were planning a divorce. So that was kind of in the wings. And a few months later, they were divorced, kind of coincided with mum's suicide attempt. And, I'm a 17-year-old girl. I was focused on my exams. I just focused my attention elsewhere. I focused on studying, on getting great results. I had a secret boyfriend that my parents didn't know about. I was experimenting with marijuana. They didn't know about it. I was being a naughty teenager behind the scenes, as well as like showing up as the angelic, perfect, A-star student in school. I was a teenager. I was super egocentric. Most teenagers are. I was like more concerned with me and my life and my love life and school than I was about anything else at home. And actually, it was the perfect distraction. But what we don't own owns us. And I wasn't acknowledging what was going on around me. I didn't have the tools to acknowledge it. My parents were actually very good at smiling and keeping up appearances, and so was our extended family and friends. So it was a lot just kind of brushed over. I didn't appreciate the depth and the extremity of what was happening in my family. My perfect family was properly coming undone. The rug was being properly pulled out from underneath all of us. And while I didn't acknowledge it, while I didn't feel my feelings around it or even tap into what I felt about it, it owned me. And what then happened after that was a series of like my body started to shut down. So I had something called Epstein-Barr virus. I had chronic fatigue. I think the chronic fatigue lasted about 3 years. I developed cystic acne. Now I know a lot of teenagers get acne. This was like another level, cystic acne. I developed anxiety. I went on as I became, sexually active. I would have urinary tract infections. So UTIs were like part and parcel. I basically lived on antibiotics, and I lived as a victim. Because what we don't own owns us. And so then I leave school and I go out into the wild and I start traveling. As soon as I could, I was off traveling, lived in Japan. I decided, I was like, fuck this. You parents with all your problems and your dysfunction, I'm out of here. I'm going to go live my daring and mighty life because I can do anything, Katie. I am daring and mighty. I'm out of here. See ya. I'm going to go live my big life. So off I went. And it kind of worked. I just removed myself from it all and went off exploring the world and beginning my career. And I had all sorts of wonderful life experiences. But what we don't own owns us. It didn't make any of it go away. My mom ultimately succeeded in suicide. The worst case scenario came true for me. That little girl, the worried one I was telling you about at the beginning, that used to wake her mummy up in the middle of the night to say, I'm worried about worrying. Everything she was worried about and intuited and kind of knew back then, it all came through. True. Dad left. Mum left. For good. They divorced. Like everything crumbled and fell down. And I never, ever acknowledged any of it or felt my feelings around it. Even at my mom's funeral, I was the hostess with the mostess. I was like, I organized the funeral and I was the one, I like greeted everybody. I had the smile on my face. I was caretaking everybody else. I remember I did cry at her funeral, but I smiled and kept up appearances. I didn't feel my feelings. I bottled it. And it bit me on the bum. And it meant that as the years went on, sure, I was living my big life and it looked great from the outside looking in. But what was happening to me on an emotional level and how that impacted my relationships was deeply sabotaging. Like my anxiety got worse and worse and worse. I moved into relationships that were deeply codependent, because that's what was modeled to me, where there was addiction, where there was narcissism, where there was a hell of a lot of dysfunction. And I didn't know how to manage my emotions. I didn't even know how to acknowledge my emotions. And I also learned growing up how to numb pain. I learned from the best, bless their hearts, because they were great parents. And they didn't have emotional mastery. They didn't have mental mastery. They didn't have physical mastery. They didn't have a spiritual connection or a deep sense of self and connection to something bigger. They didn't feel safe in the world. And that's what was modeled to me. So I didn't know how to manage all these big feelings or tap into it and explore my grief and the traumas and so on. I didn't know how. So I smiled, put on a brave face, and just got on with my daring and mighty life. And my relationships and my health and actually, it was all the things. My personal relationship with me was just full of anxiety. I felt utterly unsafe in the world. My intimate relationships deeply suffered because I didn't know how to show up in a healthy, connected way. I didn't know. And so it all came crumbling down on a personal level. My career never did. My career was always healthy and successful. But on a personal level, behind closed doors, it all came crumbling down. Hence the back-to-back dysfunctional relationships. Hence, I ended up splitting up with the father of my child. And all of it, such a gift. Such a gift. My parents, such a gift. I'm in such deep honoring of them both. And I wouldn't be the woman I am today, and I wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing today had I not had those parents in particular. Sorry, there's a little fly there. And had I not gone on the journey I went on, and, I shared some of my rock bottom story last night. I won't go into that again today. And it was because of that, hitting that rock bottom and realizing, although I didn't know it consciously at the time, what I was doing is realizing what we don't own owns us. It was time to take my power back. It was time to love myself and heal and bring into awareness, like, why do I think and feel the way I do? Why are my relationships feeling the way they feel? Why are they so sabotaged? Why do I sabotage them? Why do I choose men that sabotage them? Why do we do that to each other? To feel my feelings around that, to move into a space of forgiveness, of self, of others, of parents, of all of it. I had to go on that journey. I had to learn how to live transformationally so that I could improve my relationship with myself first and foremost on all levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And that's what I want to take you through now, how you can do that as well. Because we all have the power to live transformationally. It's a choice, and you will have to make the choice every single day. You have to choose it every single day to live transformationally, to live consciously, to live in alignment with yourself. Like I was saying earlier on the call tonight, to live in deep honesty with yourself. When you have that relationship with you, you can have that relationship with other people. And it's not always going to be easy and roses. I have a beautiful marriage. Is it always easy? No. Do I have the tools to be able to communicate vulnerably and move through the tough stuff? Yes. Is our relationship dysfunctional, unhealthy, or codependent? No, I'm unavailable for that. But I had to do a lot of healing first to not be the energetic match for that. That's what LoveFest is all about. And what I'm going to take you through now is the first steps to really understanding the transformational process, to really understanding how to have a deep, intimate connection with you so that you're in full ownership of yourself. You can, any pain you've experienced, any wounding, that it doesn't own you today. Like, I don't want you in a relationship reacting to the pain of a past relationship. Like when he or she says or does something, rather than responding to that person in that moment from a place of love, I don't want you reacting to that person in that moment from a place of fear, of avoidance of being hurt again, because this situation is reminiscent to what that person did to you or that life experience. I want you to be committed to your healing journey so that those past pains are healed to a degree. You might not heal them fully, but to the degree that you're not in reaction in the present moment to your past pain. In the present moment, you are able to respond. That's how you have healthy relationships. And the more that you heal and do your own inner work, what you're doing there is aligning, you're moving from fear to love. You're aligning with the authenticity of you. Like, who are you? What do you think? What do you feel? Not what was modeled to you, what like limiting belief systems you took on, what sabotaging behavioral habits you've adopted. No, who are you? Like, how can you come from your spiritual self and live the truth of you, not the conditioned, programmed version of you, the truth of you? The more you can do that, we'll never perfect it. It's not the human experience. The human experience is to overcome the conditioning and programming every single day. But you've got to choose it every day. And the more that you overcome and the more that you align with love and not the fear, with love, the more you align with love, the more you're vibrating at the vibration of love, you are a magnet for that. You are a vibrational match to relationships and life experiences that reflect back your value and your worth. They reflect back what you're available for. Love. I want that for you. But we don't get to have these beautiful, healthy relationships and amazing life experiences if we don't take care of ourselves first. What we don't own owns us. And perhaps you can feel how passionate I am about that. So we're going to go and dive into this a little bit deeper now. Hi, darling. Carol, isn't it? Hi there. My intention is to find more joy for me within the wonderful things I do and to give more joy to others. Definitely don't know how to make it happen, and that's okay. We have to set the intention first. The universe has eyes and ears and will start to realign around you. And you'll start to be shown what needs to heal so that you can step into that. Yeah, and we just clear the path. No judgment. We've all got our stuff. We're all doing our healing work. We've just got our broom. We're just sweeping the way, sweeping the way every day, sweeping out the stuff that doesn't serve us, doing our healing work as an ongoing thing. I'm going to show you how in a second. That's just what we're doing. We're just going to commit to that now going forward. That's it. It's just a different way of doing life that probably no one showed you before. They should probably be teaching this stuff in schools, right? Helen, hello. Been watching for a while. Forgot to say hello. Thank you for saying hi. Lovely to have you, darling. Marina, Katie, the audio is not audible at the moment. Oh, can you guys not hear me? Can someone just comment and let me know if I'm heard? Can you hear me? I'll take a sip of tea while I wait. I'm going to presume you can, because I can't imagine that only one person is going to tell me that the audio is not audible. Okay, you can hear. Cool. Okay. Great. Everyone's saying they can hear me. I love that. See, that's so supportive. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you. All righty. Thanks, darlings. All right, let's dive in for a minute. Hold on a second. Wait a minute, guys. So, yeah, I'm just wondering with today's playbook, there are just some screenshots of the pages from today's playbook. And on the back of what I've just shared, I'm just wondering, and if you'd like to comment, did I share anything from my story that resonated for you, that gave you a light bulb moment? Like through doing today's playbook, through what I've begun to share tonight, what I was sharing last night, are you are you tapping into like what is owning you? That's not the truth of you. Because remember, your thoughts aren't who you are, your feelings aren't who you are, your behaviors aren't who you are, your conditioning, your programming, it's not who you are. The truth of you is your spiritual self. And like I was saying with the broom analogy, which I've never used before, but I quite like it, just sort of sweeping away the stuff that we don't want, that we don't need, that doesn't serve us, which is like healing, 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 healing. As we're doing that, we're clearing the path to be connected and to show up in the world as our true spiritual self, the real you. Yeah. So, what is owning you that isn't of you, if that makes sense? What family conditioning, societal, culturist, religious conditioning, perhaps? What life experiences on a mind, emotion, body, and spirit level? What are you becoming aware of that is owning you? And maybe you could add to your intention of what you're done with, what you're ready and prepared to let go of, even though you might not know the how. I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into the how now, just a very top line insight. What's owning you? So here we go. The route to self ownership is self love. So let's do a quick self love 101, shall we? Self love is not a tick box or a destination. It's a daily practice and a way of doing life that invites you to compassionately connect with all parts of yourself. So, self love invites you to connect with, as you were in the playbook today, with your mind, your body, your emotion, your spirit, right? Self love invites you to treat yourself as you would a small child, and to talk to yourself as you would a best friend. Just take a moment to feel the energy of that. Do you have that kind of relationship with yourself? Most people would say no, because we are conditioned, and I won't even go into the disempowered, toxic masculine, patriarchal society that we have been born into that just doesn't allow for treating yourself as you would a small child or talking to yourself as you would a best friend. We might touch on that on day 3 of LoveFest, actually. Most of us are pushing ourselves, we're judging ourselves. You're not enough. You need to go harder, go faster, get ahead of the game, do better. When we can tap into self love and treat ourselves as we would a small child, when we have a self loving relationship with our mind, we're developing self compassion. When we have a self loving relationship with our body, we're developing self care. When we have a loving relationship with our emotional self, we're developing self understanding. And when we have a self loving relationship with our spiritual self, we develop self trust. So, if you want to have self compassion, self care, self understanding, self trust, this is the route to that. So, here's the 7 pillars of self love. And this is when I talk about living transformationally, that's what this is. And I promised you tonight in the masterclass to give you a framework for healing your past to build self-worth so that you can have healthy relationships. That was the promise tonight. And that is what this framework is. These 7 pillars of self-love. And I'm going to touch on each of these now very briefly. like super briefly, because we don't have time, that like each one of these is a 2-hour masterclass in their own right, if we're really going to go there. I'm just going to touch on them tonight. I just want to give you an overview of how you can begin to consciously take ownership of yourself and your life through living transformationally. And today, and actually LoveFest in its entirety, is predominantly about creating awareness. We're not here in 3 days to do deep healing work. That would actually be irresponsible of me to try and take a group of people that I can't even see right now through deep healing work. But we don't begin our healing journey. We don't begin to make change in our life without creating awareness first. You've heard it said, awareness is the first step to change. That's predominantly our focus here at LoveFest, and the playbook you'll get tomorrow and the playbook you'll get on Wednesday. Just like today, we'll be bringing stuff into your awareness that will then give you something to work with. So self-love invites you to live transformationally, which directly increases your self-compassion, self-care, self-understanding, and self-trust. I think we just covered that. So yes, there we go. Awareness is the first step to change. Loving yourself enough to get real requires immense bravery, but you will never look back. So that's what you guys are doing here, these 3 days of LoveFest. You are stepping into your courage, you're taking back your power, and you are choosing to get into full self-awareness, that deep honesty with you. Super brave, and I deeply, deeply honor you for doing that. And I'm in it with you. I've been doing it today. I will do tomorrow's playbook as well. And the next day, like, I'm on the journey with you. I love to journey alongside. And here's, this is what you're doing when you're choosing to live with awareness. You're choosing to love your dissatisfaction. It's so many of us, we don't want to tap into the truth of what's going on with us. We don't want to get really honest with ourselves because we don't want to feel the dissatisfaction. Like I discovered today, I've been using a little bit of like positive psychology and positive thinking to kind of just gloss over where I'm dissatisfied. It's not okay to gloss over your dissatisfaction. And I don't want you to judge your dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction is such a gift. It's your spirit showing you why you're here and the growth you chose to have in this human experience. Yeah, dissatisfaction is that feeling of dissatisfaction is literally, it's like an anxiety in your body saying, darling, you're off course. You're not on track. This isn't what we came here for. And the dissatisfaction is inviting you to course correct. And the course correction is nearly always going to be a healing process. Something needs to be let go so that you can realign and tap back into the truth of you. The course correction is where you're headed in the direction of fear. You're behaving in that kind of conditioned program state. You're in reaction to past pain. You're showing up in the world in a way that you think others want you to. You're people pleasing. You're keeping up appearances. That's not the truth of who you are. Let's just bring you back. Dissatisfaction is showing you're not living in alignment with the truth of you. Let's just bring you back. Dissatisfaction is awesome. I want to invite you to love that feeling. That knowing that when that comes up for you, the discomfort of it is like, get excited about it. I know it's shitty and it's hard, but if you could just bring the daring and mighty energy of it, like the perspective of the daring and mighty energy, like just see it as that. Go, right. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to get the support I need to heal that. And I'm course correcting. Remember, you don't have to do it on your own. Dissatisfaction is your spirit showing you how to live your most magnificent life that's full of love for self and others. Amen to that. So the second pillar of the 7 pillars of self-love is feeling. So should I just go back one sec? Let's Where are our pillars? There we go. So the first pillar is awareness. Then we've got emotional expression. So that's what we're looking at now. Feeling is your route to healing. Love yourself enough to honor and express all of your emotions, no matter how scary or impossible it may seem. The truth is, you will survive it. So, feeling is the second pillar of self love, and it has to come after awareness. Without tapping into, like, that's why the questions were written the way they were in the playbook today. It's like, how are you feeling? Well, let me see where the questions were today. We had, how often do you stop and notice your feelings? How do you feel most of the time? How do you feel when you think the thoughts that you listed above? What do you do with these feelings? Like, we need to be aware first to know how we're feeling. So many women I ask, I'm like, how do you feel? I'm like, I don't know. Well, if you did know, what would it be? Oh, I feel good. And if good was a feeling, or yeah, I don't feel great. And if not great was a feeling, what would that be? Like, we're not even taught to have a particularly wide vocabulary around our feelings. I'm still learning to vocalize and find words for my feelings, because there's such a range, right? We're kind of like, I'm good, I'm bad, happy, sad, angry, peaceful. Pretty basic. For so many, just knowing how you feel isn't a practice. It's just not something that you are practiced at. And unless we can, like, living transformationally invites you to tap into how you feel on a day-to-day basis, multiple times a day, in fact. How do I feel? What do I need? It's a beautiful way to start your day. How do I feel? What do I need? Through awareness, we bring to mind what's not going okay for us, what needs to shift. Then we're invited to ask ourselves, how do I feel about that? And we're invited to release and express those emotions. Feeling is the route to healing. I know it sounds like a sticker, a bumper sticker you pop in a car. Feeling is the route to healing. It's the only way that we can move the energy out. If we don't feel and allow the energy to exit our body, like I was saying earlier, it stays stagnant, becomes toxic, and makes us sick. So we have to get really brave, really courageous, and be honest with how we feel and find ways to healthily express and release those feelings. And that's kind of another workshop. It's a big body of work I do with a lot of my clients. The third step of transformational living is forgiveness. Forgiveness creates peace, health, and freedom. And very specifically, it creates peace of mind, health in the body, and freedom of spirit, right? The choice to release wrongdoing, hurt, and injustice from self or others is the function of the heart and the capacity of the soul. So you don't need to know how to forgive, and it's an experience you can choose to have. I think that's what it says under there. For some reason, I've got a little something over the top and I can't read it. I'm not going to go into when and how to forgive tonight. Suffice to say, without that step of forgiveness of self and others, we're not healing. Forgiveness is a crucial part to our healing journey. And it's not something we can think, it's not something we can figure out. It's unique and different for every single person. It is the function of the heart. It is the function of the soul. I could teach another masterclass on forgiveness. Suffice to say, it is part of the journey that I would invite you to take on, so that you are living aligned with the truth of you, always able to move from fear to love, fear to love, fear to love. Forgiveness is the key. It's not just the key. Emotional expression is the key. Awareness is the key. It's all key. We talked about this earlier. Living intentionally is the fourth pillar of self-love, and it means you are living in choice. Doesn't that feel juicy? Living in choice. So loving yourself shifts your perspective to a lens of kindness. You're invited to remember that life loves you too. Life is happening for you, not to you. And you can co-create with that energy through living consciously and setting intentions. Yeah. So I want you in charge of your life. That's my invitation to you, is to take charge of your life. And by the way, while I'm speaking here, don't forget, if you want to write an affirmation in the comments, if there's something I'm saying that's really speaking to you, if there's an intention that you want to set for yourself, write it in the comments, and I might choose it to turn it into a beautiful meme tomorrow and pop it on my Instagram so that you can have that as a resource. And if you want to share it, you can. Yeah, don't forget, I haven't seen anybody start to type yet. You're very welcome to do that. And if you're having any light bulb moments as I go, please share them in the comments. I love to hear what's kind of firing off for you. The fifth pillar of self-love is self-acknowledgement. It builds self-worth, self-esteem, and self-value. Why can't I see? Hold on 1 second, guys. No. Oops. I've got something on my screen that's meaning I can't actually see the slide properly. I don't know how to get rid of it. All right. Self-acknowledgement builds self-worth, self-esteem, and self-value. So self-love invites you to take time to focus on the qualities you have and to break the habit of beating yourself up. Where we put our attention, I can't read underneath it. I can't remember my own slides. There we go. Where we put our attention expands. Yes. Hold on a moment. There we go. So yeah, that was actually part of the homework today. There was a self-acknowledgement piece in the playbook, wasn't there? Yeah, I think. Let me have a look. Yeah, things you're proud of yourself for, things you value about yourself. It's really, really key. It's a beautiful daily practice. We're so good at focusing on what we haven't done or what we've not done well enough. We don't spend enough time acknowledging our qualities and who we are and really building the energy of that. Gratitude, you all know about having a gratitude practice, don't you? Gratitude builds a sense of security in the world. An attitude of gratitude means you will feel good more often. We all just want to be happy, and this is the route to happiness. And actually, in the playbook today, I invited you to write 3 things you're grateful for. The reason, by the way, I've said here, gratitude builds a sense of security in the world, it's because unless we can take conscious time on a daily basis to tap into what we are grateful for, we're actually living in a space of not enough, perhaps, or of fear, of lack, of scarcity. And when we're in that space, we don't feel secure in the world. We don't feel safe in the world. So gratitude allows us to tap into what is real and true and available to me in this present moment. What is supporting me in my life right now? What is making me feel good right now? When we tap into that, it has us feel safer. Yeah, it has us feel more secure. There's enough uncertainty in the world, right? We need to counteract that. And gratitude really, really helps with that. And finally, the last pillar of self-love is asking. Asking is the first step to receiving. When you work with me and we work with masculine, feminine energy dynamics, that's a whole other thing. We will touch on that on Wednesday. We can't receive what we desire unless we ask for it first. Whether we're asking and giving ourselves permission, whether we're asking for help and support from a colleague or a friend or a family member, whether we're asking God, life, the universe for support and guidance, asking is the first step to receiving. So loving yourself enough to ask for what you need builds self-worth. Asking is a vulnerable act. And in every ask, you're telling yourself that you are worthy of help, support, guidance, abundance, and love. You are receiving your value and worth more deeply. Can you feel that? To ask for help is very suggestive of I'm worth it. I'm valuable and I'm worthy of asking for the support in how I feel, or calling in and receiving my desires. So, my darlings, if you haven't already worked through today's playbook, let's disrupt your comfort zone. Let's get you feeling really uncomfortable, but really honest. Yeah. So, if you haven't started with the playbook, please to be doing that. You've got time, it's there for you. And it is the beginnings of your transformational journey. It's that awareness pillar. And you will start to feel your feelings as well. And you're setting intentions that you're touching on the various different aspects of transformational living just by doing the playbook today. So, has anybody got any questions for me? I know that there were a couple of questions in the on my Facebook page earlier, and I'm going to go and take a look at that. But in the meantime, if anything's come up for you while I've been sharing this little mini masterclass where I'm like super top lining what self-love is and how to live transformationally, and the process that essentially we're kind of always moving through it. We're always at maybe one or two stages of that transformational journey. We're in awareness, or we're in forgiveness, we're in a state, we're asking, we're doing our gratitude practice. Like, we're always moving through the transformational process. Yeah. Anyway, if you've got any questions about that, I would love to answer them for you. I'm going to just jump over onto Facebook and have a look at the questions that were asked of me today. Because you may remember that at 10 o'clock every morning on my personal Facebook profile, I'm putting a post that says, "Ask me anything." And underneath that, you can ask your questions and I'll answer them on the live. So let me answer. We've got a question from Anne. Anne, are you still here, honey? And I've got a question from Pamela. So let's just start with Anne's question, which was, would you mind explaining feeling safe and held by life and in a connection? Okay. What do I mean by feeling safe and held by life? And you're here. Great. Do you know what would be really interesting? I will share my answer, but those of you who are here live, let's just there's a lot of wisdom here, right? I'm not the only wise soul here. There's a lot of wise souls here. What does it mean to you? Can you help Anne with her question? She's asked, what does it explain feeling safe and held by life? So what does feeling safe and held by life mean to you? So those of you who are here, like some of you have been clients of mine for a little while. Some of you, we don't know each other at all yet, but you might have been following other teachers. Some of you are in my Love Lounge membership. Like, what does feeling safe and held by life mean to you? Where are you at on your own journey with that, perhaps? So for me, I'm just going to tap into it so that I can verbalize. Feeling safe and held by life. So for so much of my life, I felt a victim to life, like life was happening to me. And as I was sharing earlier, that kind of began when I was about 17. And from 17 until I was about 35, which is when 35 was when I really hit rock bottom and my personal development journey really kicked off and my spiritual awakening occurred. So from 17 to 35, all those years, I lived as a victim to life. I genuinely thought I'd drawn the short straw, that some people were lucky, I wasn't. I suffered anxiety. No one knew. I normalized it. I just thought, well, that's just how it's going to be for me. I had a few relationships there that just weren't particularly healthy. And that made me feel very lonely. Even though I was in the relationship, I thought, well, that's just how it's going to be for me. Apparently relationships are hard. For some people, it's not. I was a victim to life. And I absolutely, just to go back to your language, hold on, safe and held by life. Yeah, I did not feel safe and held by life. No, excuse my language, but I just felt like life was shitting all over me regularly. That was my experience. I lived as like I was predominantly being guided and governed by my victim mentality. So my victim archetype, I had a victim mentality. I look, not least, I hadn't begun my healing journey of having to go right back into my childhood and do the inner child work, which is one of my favorite bodies of work to do with my clients, is teaching a woman and guiding a woman through an inner child healing where she learns how to reparent her little girl and to give her what she never had. And although, as I shared just a handful, just a few little examples of beautiful parenting and conditioning that my parents instilled in me, they did their best. They really, really did. They loved me so much. And still, as a very little girl, I felt unsafe. I felt scared. I didn't feel safe and held by life. I often didn't feel safe and held by my parents. They might have been physically present and saying all the right things, but intuitively, I knew they weren't emotionally present and they didn't have the emotional capacity or the emotional mastery to deal with me and to have me feel safe. It's not their fault. It was my experience, though. And I made it mean I'm not safe and held in this world. This world's a freaking scary place, is what I made it mean. And so it was. And it was only through my healing journey and starting to learn how to reparent that little girl and to understand what was actually going on for her parents, to feel my feelings for that little girl and to feel my feelings as the adult that was still had her life being run by that little girl. You know, what we don't own owns us. Until I felt my feelings around that and released it, until I was able to come to a place of forgiveness for myself, for my parents, for life, for society, for having that little girl feel the way she did. It was only through that transformational process of awareness, emotional expression, forgiveness, like moving through that healing process, allowed me to start to feel a sense of safety in the world where I was held and everything was okay, that I could actually be in charge of my life. Again, the transformational process, I could step into living intentionally, choosing my life rather than just being at the mercy of it and letting it happen to me, and only being available for it to happen to me. Living transformationally and choosing to live in self-love had me decide, you know what, I'm going to love myself enough to like put my hand on the steering wheel and guide this ship. Like I'm doing this. I'm in charge of my life. I'm going to take my life where I want it to go. I'm not at the mercy of my conditioning. I can do the healing work around that. I'm not at the mercy of what other people want me to do. No, I'm going to own who I am and make my own choices and set my boundaries, choose my life. And the more I healed and continue doing the work as you are, the more I feel safe and held by life. And the more I tapped into what I believe to be the truth that we are spiritual beings here having a human experience, knowing, because I've had a profound spiritual awakening, you know, when I was 35, 36, and I've deepened that year on year on year to the degree that, and it's hard to put into words and it's so experiential, I just know there's something greater than me at play. It's being reflected back to me all the time. I'm getting winks from the universe all the time. It's I know I'm not alone in this world. It's my spiritual practices. We haven't even touched on that today. But it's my spiritual practices, and it's me creating time and space to connect in with the truth of me, doing my healing work that allows me to feel connected to that something bigger. So you asked about inner connection as well. It's like my inner connection is me feeling connected to the truth that I am a spiritual being first and foremost. My human experience is actually a daily invitation to move from fear to love. It's a daily invitation to overcome my conditioning and programming. It's a daily invitation to heal, remember who I am, and reconnect. Does that make sense? Hold on. So Helen has said, so thanks guys for contributing to this answer. Helen said, to me, it's feeling safe and held by myself, that life or me loves me, supports me, encourages me, and has my back, that anything is possible. Beautiful answer, Helen. Pamela has said, my thoughts, trust that you're always taken care of by the universe and everything happens for a reason, to be able to observe your life instead of being a victim of it. Yes, 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 yes. Beautiful. Helen says, trusting myself and having my back and the universe is a friendly place. Yes, I love that. Doesn't always feel friendly, I know. And Helen wants to add, I'll add that previously to working with Katie, I used to feel exactly the same as what Katie just explained. So proud of the work I've done and that I'll never go back to the life and beliefs that used to control me. Beautiful. Helen, you're amazing. You're so on the journey. Yeah. You're living transformationally. And that's what we're doing in the Love Lounge, right? It's like every single day in the Love Lounge, we're being invited to stay living transformationally. So we don't suffer transformational amnesia. Where we forget everything we've learned. And so it also means self-control and controlling situations where you can, but trusting the universe where one can't. Hold on a minute. Self-control and controlling situations where you can, but trusting the universe where you can't. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Let go and let God comes to mind. Let go and let God. Can someone write that in the comments for me, please, so I remember that, and I'm going to make a meme out of that tomorrow. Trusting the universe where you can't. Let go and let God. Yeah, beautiful. Oh, and Sally has said, take your power back and love yourself. Yes, I'm going to turn that into a meme tomorrow. Yes. Karen, believing and trusting in myself and feeling comfortable and secure in my own skin. Yes. Exactly, says Anne. Exactly. Let God take over where you can't. Yes. I love that. That's aligning with love right there. Yeah. It's true surrender in the most powerful way. All right, I've got one more question to answer, and then I'm going to wrap up for tonight and leave you to your evening. So Pamela and I had a little bit of, Pamela, I know you're here. We had a little bit of back and forthness because I was trying to get to the bottom of what was going on for you. So I did the best I could when I'm not face to face with you and able to be in a coaching situation. But essentially, let me just see. I can't really, I'm going to just go back and read the question. All right, here we go. So, hi, Katie. I have a question about emotions. I noticed that when I'm interested in someone, very early stages, that I get very cold, goosebumps, the cold tension kind, not the angel ones. My teeth even start to pretend it's cold when I'm interacting with him. This does not feel comfortable. If you could delve into this, if you can see the bigger picture, that would be great. So, to enable me to be able to see the bigger picture, I had a few questions. And we went backwards and forwards. I wanted to understand how, apart from those physical feelings of feeling kind of cold and goosebumpy when you're in those early stages of meeting somebody, what are you feeling emotionally? And so you said, when I brainstorm a bit, I feel careful, like I don't want to do anything wrong. Anticipation comes to mind. But then there's the unknown, which makes me feel vulnerable, looking outside of myself, and of course, ungrounded. And what was great, I love how you said, when I brainstorm a bit. So I'm just going to pick up on that for a second, because this is what self-love invites us to. This is the self-responsibility piece. You don't get to just say, oh, I get cold and goosebumpy. What's that about? You know the answers. The answers are within you. Self-responsibility invites you just go a little bit deeper. Okay, so I feel that in my body, but as we covered tonight, you are your physical self, your emotional self, your mental self, and your spiritual self. Okay, so in my body, I'm feeling this, but where am I at emotionally? How do I feel? And remembering that we feel our thinking. So what am I thinking then? And you and I haven't even gone into the thinking piece here. We could really, you can probably see, we could really pull this apart to help you really understand what's going on. But yeah, you did the work, you went a bit deeper, and you realize that you do have feelings going on. So you didn't need me to answer that for you. You do know. You've always got the answers there within you. My job is just to pull them out. So there's some anticipation, there's some vulnerability, and so on. And then I was asking you, can you remember any other events or experiences where you felt that way, that vulnerability, the feeling ungrounded, anticipation, and so on? And you said, not really. Other overwhelming emotions are more fear-oriented. That makes me freeze in a passive kind of way. The difference, I think, is that this is something I desire, that strong combination. I don't think I felt it with anything else. So this is really great information, Pamela. So remember, awareness is the first step to change. So you're in really powerful awareness. This is really excellent information. And what you're discovering about yourself is a habit of behavior that you have at the moment, no judgment, is that when you are in the early stages of a relationship, you feel anticipation, you feel vulnerable, you feel like you're looking outside of yourself, you feel a bit ungrounded. And that has you physically feel tense and cold and goosebumpy. So you can become familiar with, okay, so this is what happens for me when I'm in a new relationship and I'm feeling vulnerable. I get this feeling in my body. It's like, okay, good. I don't need to be frightened of it. I don't need to be scared of myself. I don't even need to worry. I just need to know, okay, this is my body's way of telling me that I'm vulnerable, I'm exposed, I'm ungrounded, and that's okay. So information is power. If you know that this is going on for you, sometimes just creating the awareness means you won't have that experience anymore, by the way. And if this comes up for you again, you have taken your power back by like, I know that this is what happens for me. And I know how to love myself through it. And you'll need to develop some tools to love yourself through it. Now, you might want to, before perhaps you go on a date or get on the phone with the person or whatever it is, you might want to take yourself through a tapping process. I'm not going to teach EFT here now, but you might want to just tap into, even though I feel ungrounded, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though I feel vulnerable, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though I'm feeling outside of myself, I deeply love and accept myself. And you could take yourself through that process. You might just take some time to be with you and just put your hands on your heart and remind yourself, I'm safe. You might even say, even though I feel nervous, even though I feel vulnerable, even though I feel ungrounded, I really love and accept myself. I know that everything's okay. You might want to do a meditation that really taps you into the present moment, that connects you to your power. You might have certain practices, tools in your own tool belt already. That what do you know that you can do that has you feel grounded? Is it walking in nature? Is it going for a swim? Do you need to go to a boxing class or dance it out? How can you remember step 2 of the transformational process is emotional expression. Like, how could you move the feeling through your body? How could you process the feeling so that you're not kind of paralyzed by it, cold, stiff, goosebumpy? Can you just, do the feelings did you need to move the energy through you? How could you do that for yourself? There's so many different tools. Vieira's just said, I did a dance and jumping to music. I changed my state. Yes, shaking is a great tool. Just shaking your whole body, like shaking off the energy, shake off the goosebumps, shake off the fact that you're kind of frozen and stuck. But, without talking to you and going a little deeper and doing some more inquiry around this, I don't know the exact answer for you, but I'm hoping I've given you a few little ideas there. And yeah, but information is power. Awareness is the first step to change. So we've created some awareness there. Emotional expression, the second pillar of self-love and of transformational living. You can apply that to this. Forgiveness, self-forgiveness. Even though I feel this way, I still deeply love and care for myself, love and honor myself, love and respect myself. It's okay. I have these feelings. I'm feeling my thinking. You might want to do some self-exploration around that. Like, what are the thoughts? What are you maybe worried about? Where is the vulnerability coming from? Maybe just explore the mindset there, the belief systems there. We're not even going into that here this week, but you might need to look at the belief systems. What do you want to believe instead? We feel our thinking. Maybe you need to create some beautiful affirmations for yourself to remind yourself that you're safe, that you're lovable, that you can be in charge of you. We could go on and on with that, but I hope that's been a few little nuggets there to help you. I'm just looking at the comments to see if I've missed any. I don't think I have. So, my darlings, I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight and let you get on with your evening. It's been such a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for those of you that felt able to come live tonight. It's really beautiful to be with you. It's been my honor to serve you and just be in your company. And for those of you on the replay, please don't forget to type #replay and share as if you were here live, because I will read all of your comments. If you want to participate in the Instagram competition, please do. You just have to be following me at Katie Phillips with Love, and just share your LoveFest journey. Take some screenshots. Right here, let me do this. I could do a couple of these, and then you might want to screenshot and just share that you've been turning up and showing up for yourself and prioritizing yourself, right? Share the journey, share images from your playbook, share, like I did today, your cat sitting on your playbook where you're trying to get the work done. Share the memes that I'm creating every day with the affirmations and the intentions. And as long as you tag Katie Phillips with Love, you'll see that you'll enter into a competition, and my Instagram messenger bot will ask you if you're participating in the competition, and you'll say, yeah, and then it'll tell you you've got a point. And every time you share, you'll get another point. And the person with the most points will win a coaching call with me. Woohoo! Yay! All right, my darlings. Yes, thank you so much for being here. Oh, Pamela said, thank you. Yes, I trust that it won't come out of the blue next time, so I don't become a victim of it. Very helpful. Yeah. Awareness is the first step to change, baby. You're welcome, Karen. You're welcome, Marina. And so good to have you. You're so welcome. No problem, Vieira. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. What was the God phrase you came up with? I think, it was let go and let God. Let go and let God. Pleasure, Sally, darling. Pleasure, pleasure. All right. So I will be releasing tomorrow's playbook at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I will be putting out the Ask Me Anything post on my personal Facebook page only, my profile, at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And if you've got any questions that you want me to answer in the evening, as I've just done, you're so welcome to post those under the Ask Me Anything post. And I'll see you back here live at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your evening. Good night, darlings.